I'm Jason Freilinger, Mayor of Silverton.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure.
So I love the fact that you have this here.
Oh, that's our first one, so it's very exciting.
It's so much like it's and thank you so much for this opportunity to have this space.
Oh yeah.
Because it's one of those things where finding a safe space for members of the LGBTQ community can be difficult at times. And to see representation and to see people sort of openly express that ability about themselves is a game changer, especially for the youth.
Right.
Yeah. So what prompted the start of Silverton Pride?
Well, Silverton has always been more accepting and more open-minded for everyone.
I have found that to be the case too.
We had progressive schools that have been here in the past, colleges that were here in Silverton's ancient past, and of course, we have the first openly transgender mayor in the United States, Stu Rasmussen, who was a friend of mine, and our community is. I know it's one of those small rural communities, but we are appreciative of everybody. I remember when there was some folks, when Stu became mayor, there were some folks that came from out of state who were very opposed to this. And what was so wonderful about that moment is it was an affront to Silvertonians. There were conservative Silvertonians that came out and supported Stu and said, really let the word be known to these folks that they're not welcome in Silverton.
Yeah.
And, as far as that kind of hate, everybody's welcome in Silverton. I'm a mayor. I have to say, that everyone is welcome. I want people to come. But, we're here to appreciate each other, love each other, and welcome each other into the community. And it's Mayberry with a progressive side.
Yeah. And I appreciate that a lot about Silverton.
Yeah.
It's one of those cute little towns where you come and you know you're going to have a good time.
Right.
It still has that small town feel, but it also has the sort of bigger town amenities that sort of attach to it as well.
Right. Yeah. If I go into a sales pitch, we have lots of really great restaurants. We have a really vibrant arts community. I know that's not why I'm here, is to do that, but it's a cool place. We're getting ready for our Renaissance Fair coming up here in just a few weeks, and we appreciate everybody.
And I appreciate the fact that there is a commitment to it as well, because one of the things that I talk ad nauseum about this podcast is about how important it is to support your local community, because every dollar you invest locally stays local.
Right.
And the national chains, they don't necessarily need our dollars.
Absolutely. Right.
And so anything you can do to support people in your local community, please do.
Oh,
yeah.
Most definitely. Yeah. I used to be a small business owner downtown, and a lot of things that have happened macroeconomic wise when it comes to the economy have really stifled a lot of small towns, right? And you got to be more creative. You got to be more open, and just in order to thrive. And and you need to. And I'm a big shop local person, but I have to admit I sometimes go to the bad place at Amazon and get stuff.
You and me both. It's inevitable. You kind of have to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's important that when you can, to be able to do that locally.
100%, especially like artists and things like that.
For sure.
And one of the things that I appreciate about Silverton too is the hospital.
Oh yeah, wonderful.
Oh
hospital.
My goodness,
an award-winning hospital.
Yeah,
for a small town, it's weird. We have almost as many births here in Silverton as they do in the capital in Salem, because so many people from Salem and Kaiser choose to come to Silverton to have their babies.
Oh, all of my medical care is in Silverton, even though I live in Kaiser.
Right.
100%. The difference is, and I can put exactly a label in it, right? Because I'm autistic. And one of the things that I need as an accommodation is a follow-up.
Right.
In writing. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until the healthcare system in Silverton that actually met my accommodation needs. Right. And that's huge.
Absolutely.
Because normally you're just used to be like, we don't do that thing here. And it's different.
Yep. Very appreciative of our medical community.
So how long have you been in Silverton?
My whole life. Let me clarify. I was born here and I've lived here almost my whole life. I went to school at Portland State.
Okay.
And so, in a little while after I graduated, I, had to find a job and whatnot until I could get settled down in Silverton. So, but other than about 5 years, I've spent my whole life in Silverton.
And how much has it changed since you've been here?
Well, there has been growth.
Yeah.
When I started, when I was young, aware enough of the world to realize what the population was, it was 3,000. And I think that was around when I was 10 years old. 10 years old, yeah. And so it's about 45 years later, and we're a little over 10,000 now. And so 3 to 10,000 in 45 years. Given the way Oregon's growth goes, we're actually growing at half the rate of the rest of the state.
Interesting.
But for people here, it's like, oh my gosh, we're growing so much. But,
yeah.
Our Main Street looks the same as it did, 45 years ago. Some of that's going to change a little bit because I've pushed forward to do some updates. Because we have some infrastructure, roads, pipes, all that have to be fixed. That's just a necessity. But we're very focused on keeping that charm that is Silverton from the early 1900s, which is really what we focus on, is having that feel from the early 1900s.
And you can feel that when you're downtown. You really can. It has that sort of ambiance. It's almost like you walking back in that sort of time frame.
Right.
And I love it. I love the dog too. That dog statue.
Yeah, it's a wonderful. it's amazing, the Bobby story, and I shouldn't say this. I'm a mayor of the town that Bobby came from, but it's still hard to believe. But I think that there's evidence that it actually is true that a dog got shipped all the way to Missouri and found its way home all the way back to Oregon.
Yeah.
So, it's an amazing thing.
And it's the part I love about the statue is it gets my dog every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
He's like, what is that dog doing over? It's not real, dude. But anyway.
Yeah.
And so let me tell you, so one of the things also that I talk about sort of on my podcast a lot is just how important it is for acceptance and kindness and awareness. Because I think one of the things we've lost along the way is that connection to people as a community. And one of the things I appreciate about the Salem, Kaiser, sort of Silverton area is that it still has that sort of community feel. Like, I lived in Seattle for, 40 years of my life. And, like, there was a period of 10 years where I didn't know a neighbor. Right. Not a single neighbor. And to come here and to be welcomed and to be accepted, it's a different kind of atmosphere, and I love it down here.
Yeah. I, philosophically speaking, for me, and maybe this is because I grew up here, but for me, small town means hospitality. It means welcoming. It means accepting. And it is mind-bogglingly baffling to me when I see there are other small towns that seem to feel that small town means exclude people that are different from you. And I for me myself cannot understand how you can possibly, they're completely opposite.
Yeah.
The idea of being hometown, small town, respecting the ways of the past, but being rude and inhospitable to those, that's, when you talk about gay pride and the LGBT community and equality and acceptance and equity, we're really just talking about, I hate to make it really simple, but being neighborly.
Yeah. No, it is that simple, though.
Being what you learned in kindergarten, as far as, accepting the other kids in your class, right? And, as far as I'm concerned, I'm also a Christian. And for me, it is the teachings of Jesus Christ. And it's just mind-boggling to me to have, because I'm very much aware of this because mayors in this state talk.
Yeah.
And I know that there are mayors that have drastically different views, especially small-town mayors, than I do. I really appreciate all of my community, and I appreciate all of our visitors. I appreciate people, And if you're going to be love thy neighbor,
Yeah.
you have to love your neighbors, right? And so I don't know. I feel like I'm getting on a soapbox.
No, but that's okay. Like, this podcast has been founded on soapboxes, so you're good there. But it's a really important message, though, right? Because like there is a huge difference between people who walk in faith, who actually believe and really support the teachings of Jesus,
Right.
versus those people that aren't. And really, it's about starting with love,
Right.
and loving people just because they're people.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, we are people first.
Yeah.
And what separates us is really not that much.
Yeah.
Really not that much.
Really? Yeah, absolutely.
And it takes so much more work to be mean.
Well,
It takes so much more work.
Yeah, well, it's almost like you have to create reasons to be mean. It's
Yeah.
Like, okay, I haven't found anybody to be mean to today, so let's pull a reason out of the hat and let's make it that one. Because
Yeah.
you know, if you look at these last few years, it's been like somebody who is in a position of power has like run out of things to be mean to, so then he picks new stuff. And then it says, "Oh, I need more people to be mean to, so because I need to get people excited and energized, so I'm going to find somebody else to be mean to." And it's disheartening. It's not America.
No,
It's un-American.
I completely agree. And too many, like, if you have a conversation with anybody, and have actually a real conversation, not the sound bites you see on TV,
Right.
not the 4 minutes that you have to actually have a conversation, you really, I've learned this so much through my podcasts. I've been doing it a year now, and I have 1 hour or 2 hour conversations with folks. Everybody just wants to be happy. Everybody wants to be succeeding. Everybody wants a fair shot.
Absolutely.
And if you start there, it should be easy to accept everybody.
Exactly.
Because we're all just trying to be the best versions of ourselves. Well, some of us
Yeah.
are trying to be the best versions of ourselves. And I think if you have that approach where you're kind and you're trying to be the best version of yourself, it's almost impossible to be mean.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Although I can be gruff with people that are mean to other people.
And that's different, right? I really do believe that's different, because that's like standing up and pushing back.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely. And we
Which
have to
is
do that.
different. Yeah.
We absolutely
Yeah.
have to do that as a community.
Yeah, because more often than not, the person who is subject to that, whatever ism that you throw out there,
Yeah.
doesn't have the ability to stand up for themselves in the moment. And it takes an ally, it takes a friend, it takes somebody sort of separated from the situation to come in and sort of say something.
Right.
Because when you're the victim of the attack, or you're the victim of somebody's mistreatment, it's almost impossible to stand up for yourself.
Well, and you know that's not surprising, because people who victimize others,
Yeah.
who hate, they do that in a targeted way. They do it in a way that they know that they have the power, right? And the way you turn that power around is your voices that are not being targeted, that stick up for the targeted person. Because the bullies and the hate folks, they don't pick on people unless they feel like they
Yeah.
can dominate them, and in a most undesirable way.
100%.
And that's why we have those of us that are straight, those of us that are white, we need to stand up and say, no, it's not acceptable. You know, you're not going to pick on that person just because they're different than us.
And I'm also hopeful in the same regard, because I see in the younger generations that they're not willing to accept that. And I see the younger generations being more willing to stand up for their peers.
Oh, I thought you
More-
were saying the opposite for a second. And I was
No.
like, that's not what I see. But
No.
you know, you're right. I love that
Yeah.
about the younger generation.
Yeah.
That they are more willing to stick up for their peers.
Yeah.
And-
And be accepting and be
Absolutely.
sort of, and it's inspiring to see.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was that young, like I already said this today, but I remember distinctively when I was in high school, we had somebody write a letter to the paper about their experience as a gay man.
Okay.
And they found out who it was, and he had to transfer schools because he couldn't be that way anymore. And the idea that today with youth that may not happen gives me hope.
Yep.
Yeah.
Most definitely. But I also feel, and I definitely feel that the younger generations are more that way. But as a mayor who deals with the entirety of the community, I know that there are also um, younger folks that are not necessarily in that mindset.
Yeah.
And even though they are now a minority in that age group, I'm very concerned about where they're getting these messages and the ramifications to our society in the long term of of that still being allowed to be um, encouraged by some. It's disappointing, and that's why strong voices have to come out. They have to be more vocal.
100%. Like, because I'll never forget, like, I'm not going to name the town, but I was a part of a pride event at a local town in Oregon where the elected sheriff escorted the protesters through Pride. And it just what message that sends to the kids of the people in uniform saying, here's the protesters, and here I support them.
Right.
Like, that's just shouldn't happen.
Yeah, I know. I absolutely agree, and like I said, I interact with all the mayors across Oregon in some form or another, and I know that a lot of communities our size have had an opposite reaction from the electeds, and I think I appreciate the appreciation that I get when folks that have done these events in other communities know that I'm here to stand with PFLAG and the Pride community.
It's so important. It's so important. Just to have those allies that stand up and say that I'm here to support you means so much. Like, yeah, because I'm autistic, right? And I didn't know I was autistic until later in life. And I just thought I was weird and different and didn't belong on this planet. And it wasn't until I figured out I was autistic and I went down that path. It was the people that supported people with autism that sort of got me through. Of course, I found my community, and that was really important too.
Right.
But it takes a village sometimes to make progress.
Right.
And so anything we can do as a community to work together to advance, like, just the decency towards people, let's do it.
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
Absolutely.
Because it's not that difficult. Having a pride event like this is not that difficult. But it means the world.
No, I got to say that there's
In the grand scheme of
the
things.
people that from my perspective, it was
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah, that's fair.
I just had to say yes, and and we have an amazing police chief that was willing to work with this, and an amazing city council, and we're all very embracing of this. But I want to make sure that it's known that there are some people that put in a lot of work to make this happen.
100%.
The people that put on the event have put in an immense amount of work. So
Oh, yes.
so the event itself was, so it's easy from where I'm sitting. It's not so easy for them.
And I guess I should clarify. It's easy to come and participate.
Right.
And it's easy to just green light and say, let's do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is easy.
Because you're right. Live events like this, just all of the moving pieces, it's so much work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really appreciate all the work that they put into it because I haven't helped with the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
But I've been in regular contact with them and all the logistics that they have had to figure out. So.
And I
kudos to
just,
them.
I was so honored that they invited me to do this podcast here. Because I wanted to do a live podcast, and I figured the best place to start would be here at Pride.
Oh.
And it's been an experience. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you're enjoying the experience here in Silverton.
I love
This is
Pride
awesome.
events.
Yeah.
They're always my favorite. Yeah. One of the things that is not lost on me is every time you go to a Pride event, you're going to be welcome and loved.
Right.
It's
That's
all
true.
about welcome and love.
That's true.
And that's the only feeling I get from a Pride event.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even
Yeah,
though,
that's true.
yeah.
There's some very amazingly friendly, welcoming people here, and so it's been very nice.
And I always have this perspective of once you've been othered in your life, you have a sense of humility and a sense of, like, kindness.
Right.
because once you've experienced that, you don't want anyone else to experience that.
Right.
Yeah, and it's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen too many other people that have been negatively impacted, whether they're in my family or my friends, and my only other category is I'm a nerd. So back in my day, that was a negative. So nerds are cool now.
I know, right? When did that happen? But I'm all about it, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you like to see people experience in Pride here in Silverton?
Well, I want people to feel welcome. I want we have, and I don't know other towns. I don't know how big the LGBT community is in other communities, but we have a large community here, and I think I want them to all feel a part of this community, right? And I also want people from outside of the community that might not have that sort of welcome in their own communities. I'm not going to name anybody, but that hey, Silverton is welcoming for you, right? And I don't mind being that small town that's different than the others, and it wants them here. I want everybody to feel welcome here. And yeah, that's my objective. Is people to get the feel and the welcome and the sense of community and acceptance that they can get at this Pride event.
And I really appreciate that focus, and you can tell that is the focus of the city of Silverton. You can really tell. Yeah, no, and I really do mean that, right? It's like every time I come here, like this place is just really cute. Yeah, it's like if you haven't had a chance to go downtown, you need to check out downtown Silverton.
Check out our murals.
Yeah.
They're pretty amazing.
They're pretty freaking out there. Yeah. In a good way.
In a good way, yeah. Absolutely.
Like, I wish I had that much talent.
I do not have that kind of talent.
I don't either. Yeah. I can host a podcast. I can't draw for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today.
My pleasure.
And thank you for such a wonderful event in Silverton.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's so inspiring to be a part of this.
Yeah.
And I look forward to coming back next year.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for coming, and thank you for taking the time out of your day to talk to me. I appreciate that.
No problem. Thank you so much, Mayor.